When you were describing there his handwriting and your mum's handwriting, I just got a picture in my mind of you guys sitting around a kitchen table, just like any family. What was it like?
It was not the kitchen table, thank you.
Okay.
It was the floor. And me and him would be on the floor. And one time he said he was writing his name, and you had to, for school, and he had to write in cursive. And then one day he started writing words above his name, like, I love you, and things like that. And I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm going to be famous. I'm practicing my signature. And I said, well, I want to be famous too. I'm going to practice my signature. And so we were on the floor practicing our signatures. And we did that for years, as a matter of fact. He ended up becoming famous.
What was it like growing up with him? What was he like as a brother, as a big brother, 2 years older than you?
Bossy. Since I was the little sister, I kind of had to do what he told me to do. Unfortunately, he was usually always right. We also had skates, and it had a key would always, and my skates kept coming loose.
Oh, yeah,
so
I remember those kind of skates.
Yeah, and he'd go like, there were blocks in the street, in the sidewalk, and he'd go like, I'd say like 4 or 5 blocks, because that's how the sidewalk was made, in blocks of cement. And he'd be 5 blocks up the street. And I had to stay right in front of the house. So I had to wait until he came all the way back to tighten back up my skates. He had the key around his neck. I wanted to hold the key.
That's bossy.
Was he very protective, as big brothers are supposed to be, of their little sisters?
Oh, definitely. Because and then again, he didn't have to be. Excuse me. When I would walk home from school, let's say he'd stay late for basketball practice or something. I walked down the street one day and somebody was picking on me. And I heard a voice across the street, and they said, leave her alone. It was someone in his grade. He said, that's Little Prince. So they used to call me Little Prince. And so, no, people didn't mess with me. Everybody knew I was Prince's sister.
But then, for him, he always seemed such a lover, not a fighter.
That boy would be fighting so much. I don't know if a week went by, definitely not a month, without him getting into some type of scrap on the way home.
What about?
Anything, everything, a pencil. I don't know. You know how used to make the paper airplanes? Because he liked to play pranks, and he liked to mess with girls. He would pull girls' hair. He'd throw the airplane, and it would hit him in the back of the head. He was something else.
They must have been very annoying as an older brother in that respect, then.
Yeah, he'd do pranks on me. He loved to buy, there was the comic books. In the back of the comic book, you could buy the gum that tasted awful. And so he'd buy those types of things. Or you stick your finger in, and then it pops on your finger. And he'd go, you want to stick a gum? And I go, yeah, I want to stick a gum. Stuck my finger in there, and it popped me. Of course, I started crying. He got in trouble.
And he didn't mind that so much, I can imagine. I mean, was he always, because as I said in my introduction, that a lot of people that I know were drawn to him because he gave them a sense that it was okay to be an outsider. It was okay to be different. But how did he manage to balance that when growing up? It was okay once he became as famous as he was and could be exactly who he wanted to be. But did he always have that sense of self-confidence that I will be an outsider? I won't be what's expected of a young African-American.
I think it was more my mother who kind of instilled that in us. Ever since I can remember, she'd say, you can be anything you want to be. You just have to want it hard enough. And so being poor, too, when you're poor, you don't get to wear the clothes that other people wear. And so somewhere along the line, we had to make it up in our minds that, hey, it's cool to be different. It's cool to be funky. We don't have shoes, so let's put this on instead. Or you don't have, let's say, a shoelace. One broke, so you get a shoelace out of another shoe that happened to be brown. So now you have white and brown. Somebody teased you. No, this is the new style. You had to be different. We were poor.
Turn a negative into a positive at every available opportunity.
Yeah, you didn't do it on purpose. It's just, you got to come up with something.